Hi there and welcome to Apple World. So it appears as though it's the period of black artists moving forward to get down on the business. And Terrence Howard Maine is the most recent to join the positions, taking a page from Katt and Dave Chappelle. Terrence, as of late, stood in opposition to the business's push for people of color to dial down their manliness and embrace a more womanly picture. Terrence didn't know words, and he went full scale, hauling various makers for their endeavors to coerce people of color into wearing dresses. When there was definitely no need for a no-diggers bar, he laid out an upsetting plan pointed towards sabotaging people of color. As per Terrence, this vile plan was the main impetus behind his choice to move back from the business. Maine didn't avoid spilling a few teas and hot teas about this entire situation. Simply being a wrecked plan that is false, either that is the stuff you must watch, see that is the reason you got to clear this stuff up, you've got to watch the stuff that they put out there. You know, cause they're simply attempting to bring in cash. Okay, so there's this developing pattern where an ever-increasing number of people of color are moving forward to spill their reality on the business and uncovering all the problematic stuff occurring in the background. It's not precisely a recent fad, as we've had a couple of daring individuals in the past that attempted to reveal insight into how the business endeavored to weaken people of color. Unfortunately, relatively few individuals were paid consideration then, at that point, and the individuals who did frequently excuse these men as cloud chasers, yet things appear to be moving forward. Currently, Terrence Howard is at the center of attention discussing similar sort of issues. Yet this time, people are really tuning in. Terrence guarantees that the explanation he cleared out and resigned from acting was that the business was pushing him to wear dresses and strip away his manliness. When he rejected the gossip factory began stirring about accounts of him being challenging to work with and so forth, in a story we've heard on many times in the business while they're attempting to renounce an entertainer. Now, I won't imagine that Terrence is an equivalent. He's had his reasonable portion of discussions, and at one point, it seemed like his own dramatizations were still at the center of attention from his vocation. Inconvenience just appeared to chase after this principle presently. Back in 2010, Terrence found himself in serious trouble for putting hands on his most memorable spouse. However, that embarrassment was definitely not a one-time thing when it came to his experiences with life partners. In 2011, his second wife, Michelle Gent, made a legitimate move for and getting a limiting request against him, referring to DV Now. Terrence didn't avoid these allegations and straightforwardly examined them in interviews. He once confessed to putting hands on his subsequent spouse directly before their children, making sense of "she was conversing with me, genuine, amazing, and I freaked out and slapped her before the children." You all, that was simply totally screwed up on such countless levels at this point. Strangely, it didn't place a scratch in his vocation on the off chance that anything, he kept getting huge acting jobs, remembering the lead for the well-known show Domain as Lucius Lyon. However, at that point, out of nowhere in December 2022, he dropped the stunner and declared that he was resigning from the business. It appeared to be a piece odd in light of the fact that he was all the while landing strong acting gigs. Why reassess when he hadn't even tumbled off the radar? Well, the solution to that question is somewhat crude now. Terrence guaranteed that the business was driving him into awkward circumstances he considered castrating, like wearing dresses, and that evidently was the straw that broke the camel's back for him. Terrence might have finished his retirement yet, but that hasn't quieted him on the point of the obscure business. Corners is attempting to drive him into wearing dresses. It's anything but a new allegation, as other people of color have ventured forward, getting down on film makers for endeavoring to uphold dress-wearing scenes in motion pictures, even in scenes that enhance the plot. For instance, model Dave Chappelle has been sounding the alarm on this issue for a really long time. He's been saying that the business purposely attempts to feminize people of color by pressuring them into wearing dresses and embracing female jobs on the screen that contribute nothing significant to the storyline. Well, Dave's process hasn't been going great. Possibly he wound up in a few heated clashes with industry fat cats over this issue. One of the most exposed shows was his with Funny TV, and the aftermath almost drove him to leave the business altogether in a striking move. However, he spilled the tea on the Oprah show, uncovering the genuine purpose for his flight and impermanent move to Africa now. Dave guaranteed he turned down a jaw-dropping $50 million arrangement in light of the fact that the tension was on to wear a dress, an interest supposedly coming from, in all honesty, Martin Lawrence. Like when I associate specs that perhaps ought not be associated, I don't know yet, specific dabs. Like when I see that they put each person of color in the motion pictures in the dress. Eventually in their vocation, I'll associate down like why all these siblings got to wear dresses. This happened to me. I'm doing a film with Martin. No doubt the film's going great. So I stroll in the trailer. I'm similar to men. This should be an unacceptable trailer because there's a dress in here. They come in and the essayist comes in. I believe he's the essayist. He's like, Dave, listen, we got this entertaining scene where Martin's escaping prison, so he masks you as a whore. He puts this dress on and mother whore. No, I'm not doing that. I feel really awkward with that now. Before anybody bounces in with Dave, we might have quite recently discussed not having any desire to wear a dress. Let me shut that down since he really had the discussion. He plunked down with the filmmakers and absolutely let them know he wasn't down with the entire dress-wearing thought. However, as per Dave, it was completely silly for the film. The dress didn't add to anything in the plot and might have effectively acted without influencing the storyline, yet all things being equal, working things out and settling on some shared interests, the makers took an alternate course. They got a chief, and as opposed to figuring out the problem, they chose to gaslight Dave. They marked him as troublesome and difficult to work with, endeavoring to strong-arm him into wearing the dress in spite of his rehashed refusals. Dave was placed in a predicament holding fast against superfluous requests, and it reveals insight into the power elements at play in this diversion. The world ought to have been in a conversation about what you feel awkward with. I mean, it's an entertaining piece, and every one of the greats has done it so well. Every one of the greats has done it, and it's sort of hacky, right? You're correct. So for what reason don't we simply not do it because I feel awkward in a dress? Gracious, come on, Dave, listen. We have everything set up. We should shoot each other consistently. You're costing this much cash. You realize the tension comes in, and I'm presently not wearing a dress. Man, I'm more clever than a dress. Simply give me something entertaining to say. I don't for even a moment wear a dress to entertain one of my Milton BS. You realize we are going this way, and afterward, at long last, he leaves, and afterward, like the chief comes. Dave truly would be perfect, assuming you wear the dress. What's going on? What is this Brokeback Mountain in here? Is it really good or bad? Wear the dress I need to wear. I need to wear this dress. You understand what I mean. This is gracious. Golly, folks, so troublesome they leave man assuming makers come on David would be so extraordinary. I mean, and afterward I began thinking about it in every one of the comics that I've seen. You know, solid siblings, why for what reason are we placing us in these dresses? However, presently assuming there was one thing that you all need to be aware of Mr. Dave Chappelle, is that he doesn't move effectively at all. He stood firm 10 toes down, making it completely clear to the makers that he wasn't giving in to the dress-wearing strain, and think about what his hard-headedness paid off on the grounds that in the end, the makers needed to toss in the toe on the grounds that Dave wasn't going to be influenced into something that he will hold up on the grounds that the situation started to get interesting. Turns out they had an arrangement B from the start. Dave spilled the tea that there was an elective variant of the content discreetly sitting in the sidelines in the event he held his grana refused to surrender to the dress interest. It proves his point that the scene in the entire dress trial were futile and totally superfluous for the film, so for what reason did they continue to pressure him for such a long time when they previously had a plan B in the type of an elective content? It most certainly caused a commotion in the event that there was a completely decent content that didn't include Dave wearing a dress. Why the persevering strain, no doubt it's sort of unusual, and most certainly Susan makes us keep thinking about whether there was some sort of secret plan having an effect on everything. Was clear I was unyielding. I'm not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing the dress. Okay, fine. Consider something different that returns 10 minutes after the totally different scene. How could you compose the scene so quickly? You know what it resembles, so you gotta require a... The day wasn't the only one spilling tea in light of the fact that Kevin Hart likewise dropped a few clues that being compelled into wearing dresses was something ordinary in Hollywood. While he didn't fully proclaim his refusal to wear a dress, Kevin unexpectedly proposed that the business pressure was prodding him that way. Another extraordinary entertainer said that, in the business, they attempted to make him wear a dress. Have you at any point run into that with scripts? And is that something that you realize you wouldn't do? You certainly have to run in to put on the dress. Subscribe Apple World for more videos.